Hello chess friends, I am International Master from Serbia, Ratkovic Milovan, and in this course we are going to talk about London system. London system is very popular opening nowadays because many strong grandmasters play it, especially world champion Magnus Carlsen. It arises after d4, d5 or knight f6, and then bishop f4, or after d4, knight f6, knight f3, d5, and then bishop f4. So this opening is called London system. Why system? Because it's not important what your opponent plays. You can always use this. You can always play London system. That's the point. So basically, whatever black does, you can use London. Also, there isn't so much theory here, and you will learn this quickly. And here we are going to talk about some principles, some plans and ideas you will definitely need if you decide to play this opening. So let's get started. First, we are going to start from the main line. So in the first 3 hours we are going to talk about mainline. So what is the mainline here? When white play d4, black is going to play knight f6 or d5, bishop f4, d5, e3, e6, knight f3, and then c5. You see black is going to try to create counterplay in the center immediately. After that, we're just going to play c3. Usually in London system we don't play c4. There is only one exception. We are going to work on that later, but basically we create this pawn structure, this pawn formation in the center: c3, d4, e3. Remember that. After c3, black plays knight c6, and then white plays knight bd2. This is typical position in London system. So you will see, if you play this many times in your career, you will have this position. After knight bd2, black usually play bishop d6. Why? Because it's good for black to simplify position. It's good for him to exchange as many pieces as he can, because he's black, you know. And now when white takes there, black takes, black can play e5 soon, and then his light colored bishop will be developed. After bishop d6, of course, we don't want to exchange bishops. Instead, we are going to do this: bishop g3. Why bishop g3? Because we want to keep tension on h2b8 diagonal. And now after bishop g3, if black takes, our h pawn is going to take on g3, and then h file will be open, which is good for us because our rook on h1 will be very strong. After bishop g3, there are a few different variations for black. Let's start from bishop takes g3. As we said, we should take with our h-pawn, of course. And then you see that our h-rook has already open file. Yeah. After h takes g3, black play queen d6. Why? You see that his light-colored bishop is still there. It's not developed. So black is trying to push e5 and then to develop that bishop on g4, f5, e6, and he's good. Yeah, so we need somehow to prevent that, and the best way to do that is to play bishop b5. Now e5 is impossible because we just take there. After bishop b5, the main move for black is bishop d7. So bishop d7, there is no longer a pin on this diagonal. So yeah, bishop d7 is normal developing move. After this, we can just take the knight. Let's eliminate that knight. I know that, yeah, usually in chess you don't give your bishop for your opponent's knight. That's the rule. But in this concrete case, we do that because position is closed, and basically in closed positions, knights are better than the bishops. And also in this concrete case, after bishop takes, you see that our knight from f3 can jump on e5 square. That's excellent outpost for our knight, and our knight is very powerful piece on e5. After knight e5, again, yeah, black has several options. Let's start with knight d7. So black wants to eliminate our strong knight, and then if we take there, he's going to take with the bishop, and then we just, yeah, we have nothing. So after knight d7, just bring this knight into play via f3 square. So knight d f3. When black takes there, we take, and you see what is our plan in the future. First of all, we still have open h file, and h7 pawn is hanging constantly, you know, so whatever black does, he will always have problems with his h7 pawn. Also, our knight is very, very strong in the center. We're going to play f4 to support it, and try to compare our knight on e5 and his bishop on c6. Our knight is much better piece than his light-colored bishop on c6. So after f4, we're going to develop our queen, rook, king can go on f2, we can play short castle or long castle. It's not so important, we will see what is black going to do, and then to decide what to do with our king. But basically at this point we have excellent position. So it's just important to remember main ideas and plans here, and you will know how to play this position. Okay, so yeah, don't be afraid to take on c6, because that's good for us, and we just stay with good knight in the center. After knight e5, black could also play his bishop on b5. You probably see why. Now he prevents short castle, and there is no way we can play that because of this bishop. Yeah, but that's not big deal, because yeah, we don't need to play short castle. At this point, our king is perfectly safe in the center. So first, let's develop the queen on f3. After queen f3, black cannot play knight e7 anymore, because his f7 pawn is hanging. Also, if he plays short castle right now, it's very risky, because there is g4, later g5, okay, g5, and then queen h3 or queen h5, and h7 pawn is going to fall. So short castle is a very risky move, and after that white has almost decisive attack on the king side. Instead of short castle, if he tries with the long castle, in that case, knight takes f7, and yeah, you see, just black is terrible now. So yeah, black has huge issues with our knight on e5. Our knight is our central and the key piece. So the best move definitely for black is king e7. So he chooses to keep his king in the center. Yeah, I think that that move is his best option. After that, we will do this, g4. You see, what are we threatening to do? We're threatening to play g5, and when knight retreats on d7, then f7 pawn is hanging. That's the threat, and also you see that we gain space on the king's side. It's very good move. After g4, black can do a few things. He can play something like h6 maybe. Yeah, he wants simply to prevent g5. In that case, let's attack the bishop first. If bishop goes on d7 or c6 or e8, then we can just play short castle, and we will have excellent play, because black king is in the center. You know, it's not in danger right now, but in the future you will see that we will create some threats, and his king cannot stay there. You know, you see that the board is full of the pieces. There are many pieces on the board, especially queens, and yeah, in that sense, king is in danger in the center. So if black brings the bishop back on this diagonal, we will simply play short castle. If black plays his bishop on a6, you see that he still prevents short castle. But as I said, we don't need to play short castle. We can do this. We can play long castle. Our king is perfectly safe on the queen's side. You see that this bishop is now practically out of play. You know, just I like to say that this a6 f1 diagonal is empty diagonal. There are no pieces on this diagonal. So black bishop is basically cut off, out of play. And after long castle, yeah, what is our idea? Our idea is somehow to try to activate this knight, and maybe to play queen f4, g5 to try to organize attack in the center and on the king side. Also e4 is possible, possible move, and white has a good position here. Okay, what else? Yeah, after g4 he can maybe do this rook from a8 to f8 to defend his f7 pawn, but again we can do the same, a4. If he brings bishop on this diagonal, then we can play short castle. If he plays bishop a6, we can play long castle. And we are good. Also g5 is one of our next moves, and that's it. Later, maybe he's going to play knight d7, we're going to take, queen takes, and this knight is going to be transferred on e5. During that time, that bishop will just stay there doing nothing. Okay, yeah, so you basically know what to do after that. Let's just repeat this. It's important. So d4, d5, bishop f4, knight f6 for black, e3, c5, c3, knight c6, knight d2 first. Later I'm going to explain you why we play knight d2 first, why not knight f3. Knight f3 is of course, a good move. Just let's play knight d2 because of queen b6. Okay, later we are going to work on that variation. It's also one of main variations in London. So right now we are working on e6. After e6, just play knight f3, bishop d6, and then bishop g3. Just keep tension on h2 b8 diagonal. And after bishop g3, black takes. Pawn takes. And then black play queen d6 to try to play e5. Of course, we are going to prevent that by playing bishop b5. And after bishop b5, black played the main move, most popular move, bishop d7, but we saw we should just take there, and after bishop takes, then our knight jumps in the center like this, and we have better play. Instead of bishop d7, black could also play knight d7. Knight d7 is possible move because he wants to play e5 anyway. You see, that's the threat, and even if we take there, he will take with his b pawn, and then yeah, e5 is his next move. After knight d7, let's play g4 first. So we don't want to decide yet what to do with our king. That's a common thing, typical thing in London system, to keep our king in the center for a long time and to see what is happening on the board, and then later maybe in move 20 or something to decide where to where to move it. So right now our king is good here, and it will stay there for the next few moves. Just situation need to be clear, and then we will castle on the king side or queen side. We don't know yet. So knight d7 is the last move, and then we play g4. G4 is a good move because we prepare in the future attack on the king side, and we gain space. We gain space there. So yeah, now let's see what happens after e5. So that is black's idea. Black wants to do that because he wants to open c8 h3 diagonal for his light squared bishop. After e5, just take there. d7 knight takes, and then we can play our knight on e4. You see that d5 and c5 pawns are weaknesses now, and black is going to lose one of them in the next move. So e5 is a mistake, and now after this move, black is going to lose one of those two pawns. So let's say that he takes on f3, g takes f3, queen goes on d8, and then knight takes c5. White is a pawn up, and white is of course much better. So he cannot do that. He cannot play e5. So I think that this knight d7 move isn't accurate, and yeah, just remember after knight d7, play g4. If black plays e5, take, he takes, and then play knight e4, take the pawn. What else black could do after bishop b5? He can play short castle. Yeah, he thinks that we have nothing on the king side, and he does that. Actually, it's partly true. because later in the future, of course, we can organize some attack on the king side. Right now, we don't have enough resources to attack Black Castle, but yeah, as I said, let's see in the future. We'll definitely do that. After a short castle, let's take the knight. As I said that before, it's not big deal if we give our bishop for his knight, because later we are going to have this excellent outpost for our knights. After bishop takes c6, he takes with the queen. That is actually a mistake, because we can jump in the center like this. Queen goes on c7, and then g4. You see what's the plan. We are planning to play g5, knight goes back on d7 or e8 or something, and then queen h5 and h7 pawn is going to fall. Yeah, you see, I think there is no good defense for black. He can try with h6, but h6 is just a weakening of his king side, and after that it's just a matter of time when we are going to create decisive attack on his castle. So basically, queen takes a6 is a mistake. It's much better to take there with the b pawn. After b takes a6, we are going to play queen a4. Now, yeah, we don't have like we don't have enough resources, and it will be too slow to attack black on the king side. So if we play knight e5, for example, that would be a slight mistake, because black can take here. Maybe c takes or e takes, and then c5. So black has instant counterplay in the center, and now it's not easy, it's very complicated, and yeah, it's much better to play queen a4. Now let's create some threats on the queen side. You see, what are we planning to do? We're planning to play queen a3, and yeah, to grab the c5 pawn, because there is a pin on a3 f8 diagonal. After queen a4, black has a few possible moves to play. The first one is c takes d4. He wants to get rid of his doubled pawn on the c file. Yeah, that's of course possible. Then we take with the c pawn. Rook b8 maybe for black, and then just short castle. Our king is the safest on the king side right now, and black has two serious weaknesses. a7 pawn and c6 pawn are in danger, and we are going to play something like rook ac1 to create pressure on that pawn. a7 pawn is hanging, as you see right now, so he needs to do something about that. And yeah, it's not easy position for black. So for example, he takes the pawn on b2. We can take on a7, and you see what is white planning to do. Rook from f goes to c1. Then this knight from d2 goes to b3, and then jumps to c5, and you see that c6 pawn is isolated pawn and its weakness, so we are going to create pressure on that pawn. One more thing, we have very good a pawn, that's passed pawn. We are going to advance it, and who knows, maybe that pawn is going to bring us a victory in this game. Yeah, it's not easy situation for black on the queen side. You see that he has weaknesses there. So yeah, after b takes c6, we played queen a4. We were talking about c takes d4. Instead of doing that, he can play rook b8 straight away. After that, just take the pawn on a7. If black takes here, then his c5 pawn falls, so he takes on d4 first. C takes d4, rook takes b2, and then short castle. You see what is our plan. It's the same position as before, it's just different move order. It's the same, rook fc1, knight b3, knight c5, and so on. Okay, and there is one more possible move for black in this moment after queen a4. So he plays his knight to d7. He wants to defend his c5 pawn one more time. Yeah, it is possible, but then, yeah, let's just play queen a3. Our next move is knight b3, and black c5 pawn cannot be saved. Yeah, so knight b3, and just take the pawn on c5. Yeah, okay, so, yeah, just let's repeat this. So bishop d6, bishop g3, and then black has several options. We are talking about bishop takes, h takes, queen d6, and then bishop b5. After bishop b5, we were talking about bishop d7. That's the main move. After bishop d7, just take the knight. We were talking about knight d7. After knight d7, just play g4. And the last move black can play is short castle. After that, just take the knight. If he takes with the queen, that is a mistake, because we can play knight e5 and then g4. If he takes with the b pawn, then just play queen to a4, try to exploit his weaknesses on the queen side. Okay, now let's talk about something else. So bishop g3 is the last move. What happens if black doesn't want to take on g3? Instead, he plays something else.